Right, welcome back to my lesson videos. This would be lesson 42 on the AQA scheme. It's my third lesson on chapter 12, ratio and proportion. So this third section, which will be 12.3 S and 12.3A, is going to be on percentage change. So increasing things by a percentage or decreasing things by a percentage. So I'll be moving on to show you some of the PowerPoints and then do some example questions that I've done in the previous videos. Just a note about lesson 40, that got uploaded after 41 because I had some problems with the editing. I can't go over 15 minutes, it won't let me go further than that, so I had to cut a bit out. Fortunately there was a mistake I'd made in it, so I managed to find some editing stuff that did let me cut out that bit. Not great editing, but won't win me a BAFTA, but hopefully it does work. Made it less than 15 minutes, but it does mean the end doesn't make sense because I talk about apologising for a mistake, which I then managed to cut out. But still learning the video editing and still learning how to do this. Hopefully slowly they will get better. I'm also going to be adding in some more ones which will be revision for this group. I've had some requests from a couple of other year 10s for factorising, so that you'll see those appear, but just stick to the stuff that's in Moodle for my group. We're working through the book. We've done chapter 11, we're about to finish off 12 where we do this section 3, and then we'll be moving on to chapter 13, going in order. So I'll move away from this little intro and then we'll go and look at the PowerPoint, and as I say, after that we'll do some questions. Percentage change, so percentages going up or percentages going down. Remember to use that really important fact that 10% is 0.1, which helps us to work out that 15% is 0.15. Also, what might be fairly obvious, 100% is one whole one. If you're trying to convert those in your head, sometimes I tell people to think about pounds and pence. So this is like having £1, which is 100 pence. So if you had 92 pence, it would be 0.92 in pounds, 92 in percentages. Similarly, if you had that 15 pence, that would be 0.15 pounds. Sometimes that helps people think of it, but a lot of you will be able to do that straight away anyway. If we increase something, we'll have more than 100%. So if we increase something by 20%, that is going to give me 120%, which is a decimal would be 1.2, like £1.20. If we decrease something, we'll have less than 100%. So if we decrease something by 20%, that will leave us 80%, because the 100 take away that 20 is 80. So it's a bit like having 80p, 0.8 pounds. We always take the original amount as 100% in questions. That's something to look out for. So when you're reading it, read it carefully and make sure you take the original amount, the thing you started with, as 100%. Whether it's bigger or smaller, that'll just mean whether it's an increase or a decrease. These are the questions we're going to work through. They're from 12S, the skills part, as I call them, just practicing techniques. I'm going to show you how to do these. Obviously you should work through all of these. I think it'll be important to do all the 12S and then move on to do all the 12A. So I'm going to allow you 2 whole lessons to do this, because I want everything in S and everything in A done. These are, to be honest, giveaway marks in the exam. You've got to be getting 100% of these right to make sure you get that 7, and certainly if you want to move on to the 8. Question 2 should be very straightforward for you. You're all great mathematicians, but I'll just do some just to make sure you can do this before we move on to those increase and decrease. So 10% of 400. 3 ways to do it. 10% is 0.1, or you can think of it as a tenth. So if we're working at a tenth of 400, that's going to be 40. On the calculator, 0.1 times 400 will again give you 40. Hopefully you noticed that question 2 said without a calculator, so these would be the sort of questions you'd get on a non-calculator exam. So I'm going to do D, which is 25% of 80. So I'll look at 3 ways to do this. 25%, you should hopefully remember, is a quarter. A quarter of 80 is 20. That it could be done in your head without a calculator. Some of you might think of it as 0.25 and do 0.25 times 80, which again gives you 20. Or the way this will work for any awkward percentage, if I worked out 10% of 80, 10% of 80 will be 8. So 20% will be double that, 16. If I know that 10% is 8, that's going to allow me to work out that 5% is half of that, because 5% is half of 10%. So half of 8 is 4. So in total, I've got 20% and, I've got 16, which was 20%, and 4, which was 5%. So I add those two together, I get a total of 16 add 4 is 20. And that's the method you use in the non-calculator exam for awkward percentages. Question 3 says calculate these percentages given your answer to 2 decimal places. So that's going to be with the calculator and on the calculator paper. So much easier just to use your calculator. If we do the first one, A, which is 45% of 723, 45% converts to 0.45. So I just need to do 0.45 times 723 on the calculator. So 0.45 times 723 equals, would help if I turned it on, 0.45 times 723 equals, always gives you that awkward fraction, so just press that SD button down there, change it to a decimal, 325.35. 325.35. And then if we go on to E, that's probably the most tricky one. E is 17.5%. So 17.5% converts to 0.175. That 5 just goes in the next column along. So that I need to multiply by 124 because I want 17.5% of 124. Calculator again gives me that irritating fraction. So SD button will change it to a decimal, 21.7. It says to 2 decimal places. So 21.7, although it's the answer on the calculator, is not to 2 decimal places. Strictly speaking, you should give that as 21.70. Then you have got 2 decimal places. Hopefully that was reasonably straightforward, so I'm going to move on to the real meat of this exercise, which is calculating percentage increases and decreases. When you move on to the A stuff, it's going to be a lot more about reading comprehension and working out what they want you to do. But I'm going to show you the skills, and then you're going to have to develop your comprehension skills. I've got 6 minutes left on the video to make sure it doesn't go horribly wrong, so let's get cracking. I'll do A as an easy intro. If you're going to increase 250 by 10%, that means you'll actually have 110% of that original amount. So you've got 2 ways to do this. Some of you might think of even more than 2 ways, but I'm saying if we've got to increase by 10%, that means I'm going to have 110%. The amount of effort you all put into your math lessons, I know. So 110 as a decimal is 1.10. That's my 100%, that's my 10%, 110%. So to work out 110% of 250, I've got to do 1.10, just 1.1 would do, times 250, and that is going to give me 275. That was pounds, so make sure you have your units in the answer, 275. The alternative method, you can work out what 10% is. 10% of 250 is equal to £25. So that's the amount that is being increased. So that is what's being added on to my original 250. So 250 add 25 gives me that same answer, 275. Your choice which method you use, both give you the same answer, so either is absolutely fine. Question C is another increase. So again, we're going to have more than 100%, but C is increased by 5%. So that means we'll have 105%. So the decimal equivalent of that is 1.05. Now I can't do that in my head, so I will get the calculator out again. We want to increase 17,200 by 5%. So we're going to need 17,200 times by 1.05, which is the decimal equivalent of 105%. That gives me 18,060. So 18,060. Remember the units, got to put those pounds in there. Again, you could have worked out 5% of 17,200. So 17,200 times by 0.05, because that's 5%, gives me 860. And strangely, when I do 860 add the original 17,200, I get the same answer, 18,060. So this time a decrease one, 3,600 decreasing by 30%. So this is 100%, and I'm going to take off 30%. So if I start with 100% and I take off 30%, I'm actually going to have 70% less. So I need to work out 70% of 3,600. So that's 70 times by 3,600 times by 0.7. So 3,600 times 0.7 gives me an answer of 2,520. Again, you could have done it in the alternative method. So I'm taking off 30%. So I want to work out 30% of 3,600. So I'll do that on the calculator over here. 3,600 times 0.3 is 1,080. So that is what is being taken off. So I've got to do 3,600 take away 1,080. And that, strangely enough, will give me the same answer, 2,520. Okay, if you've got any questions about that, please email me. But just under 14 minutes, so the video should upload fine, and hopefully you can continue to enjoy chapter 12. Do all of the practice questions and certainly all the ones in 12.3a, because you really need to practice understanding those questions and comprehending those. I'll be back soon with videos to take you through chapter 13, and I might even have another technique to improve my dodgy camera work. Hope you're all well, take care, stay safe, and hoping to see you all back in the classroom soon. Bye bye.